Next on Currents News, remembering the life and legacy of the late Auxiliary Bishop Rene Valero, who left a lasting impact on the Diocese of Brooklyn.
Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio welcoming hundreds of new Catholics into the church. I'm Tim Harfman, and I'll share the experience of one mother and son as they prepare to receive their sacraments. That story is coming up.
157 people are dead after an Ethiopian jet crashed on Sunday. Among the dead, several employees of Catholic relief services. Plus, attacking the Catholic Church. NBC is under fire for comments made during Saturday Night Live. The news starts right now.
I was very grateful to the Lord.
Words from the late Bishop Rene Valero, who has now joined the angels in heaven. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. Bishop Valero passed away on Sunday at the age of 89. The retired auxiliary bishop, who was born and raised in New York, served the community for over 5 decades. Currents News' Emily Druby is here with more on the life and legacy of Bishop Valero. Emily.
Liz, from his work with Catholic Charities and with the Catholic Migration Office to his position as the Diocese of Brooklyn's first bishop of Hispanic heritage, friends of Bishop Valero tell us how he inspired and helped all those who knew him. On Monday, Auxiliary Bishop Octavio Cisneros spent time reminiscing over a photograph of retired Auxiliary Bishop Rene Valero.
Yes, every time you see he has that friendly, that joyful, that he expresses who he is, a happy man, a man of faith.
Bishop Valero passed away on Sunday, March 10th. He was born in West Harlem, but his parents hailed from Caracas, Venezuela. Bishop Valero became the Diocese of Brooklyn's first bishop of Hispanic heritage.
He's a giant in the Diocese of Hispanic ministry, and I'm sure all of us are going to miss him.
Bishop Valero accomplished many things during his life. In 1962, he earned a master's from Fordham University School of Social Service. Bishop Valero went on to spend 12 years at Catholic Charities, notably working for the Office of Aging. He also held the position of pastor of Blessed Sacrament Church in Jackson Heights and was picked to direct the Catholic Migration Office. While Bishop Valero will be known for his great accomplishments, Bishop Cisneros and Auxiliary Bishop Raymond Geppetto say he will also be remembered for his joy, his wit, and for his humility.
Very, very kind, very witty, and very entertaining. He always had good stories. He always had a lot of joy to share with us.
And he was always available to the people. I happened to be his secretary during confirmations. He always had time for the families, not just the boy or girl that was being confirmed, but the parents, the grandparents. He was always available to them. What a great example to priests, to all priests, and to bishops of his availability, his gentleness, his humility.
Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio also releasing a statement on his passing, saying Bishop Valero's legacy will live on for many years. A vigil mass is being planned for Tuesday, March 19th at 7:30 p.m. at Blessed Sacrament Church in Queens. The funeral will be celebrated by Bishop DiMarzio on Wednesday, March 20th at 10:30 a.m. at the Immaculate Conception Center in Douglaston. Liz?
All right, Emily, thank you. He will surely be missed. Hundreds of people took their final steps on the journey to becoming Catholic this weekend. It was part of the rite of election ceremony with the Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio. The group will be fully inducted into the church this Easter. Currents News' Tim Harfman has those details.
Ahi Hung and her teenage son Terrence walking to greet Brooklyn's Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio. They and hundreds more are taking the final steps along a journey into the Catholic faith.
I'm so blessed and I feel very thankful to God.
Ahi, Terrence, and the others participated in what's known as the rite of elections. They have all undergone an extensive period of instruction about Catholicism in anticipation of joining the church in time for Christ's resurrection. Bishop DiMarzio described their ultimate goal that will be reached at the Easter Vigil.
These are people that wish to be baptized and be confirmed and receive the first Eucharist at Easter.
During the rite of elections, the future Catholics declared their intention to become members of the faith. and the church made its selection of them to receive the sacraments. Ahi is an immigrant from South Korea. She is following the example of her sister Teresa, a full-fledged Catholic who died last year.
All I could do is pray to God. I couldn't do anything else but pray to God. I just feel God call me.
Ahi and her 15-year-old son Terrence gained a lot from their efforts at Catholic formation.
Every day we practice, we sit down at the dinner table, we practice prayers, and it's a great experience. We learn together.
At Sunday's rite of election ceremony were people who will be baptized when they enter the church this Easter. They are called catechumens. Bishop DiMarzio spoke to them and explained that keeping their conversion strong is the work of a lifetime.
Sometimes we see people are converted, but it doesn't last very long. So I will continue to remind them of that this is a lifetime commitment, and we want you to continue with your process of conversion that takes time.
This Easter, a large group of catechumens will start their lives of Catholic faith. 97 are children, 466 are adults, a total of 563 catechumens. There's also another group, the candidates, people who've already been baptized and want to enjoy the full life and sacraments of the church. 457 are Catholics who will be confirmed and receive the Eucharist at the Easter Vigil. 76 are Christian converts to Catholicism, totaling 533 candidates. Theodore Musco heads up the faith formation work done in the Brooklyn Diocese.
They have relatives, friends who are Catholic already, and they invite them to participate in the life of the church. So we're very fortunate to be able to then support them with the programs we have here in the diocese.
Ahi and Terrence will be welcomed into the faith during the Easter Vigil at their parish of St. Robert Bellarmine Church in Bayside, Queens.
Just in case something happened to me, I want my sons to get confirmation as I am, so he can believe in God and he becomes strong. Something happened to me, then he still have a God, because God's forever.
The Easter Vigil celebration is on Saturday, April 20th. Tim Harfman, Currents News.
In the Brooklyn Diocese, Chinese Catholics make up at least 10% of those newly baptized into the faith each year. At the most recent Easter Vigil, 350 Chinese Americans received the sacraments, all divided into 4 parishes: St. Michael's and St. John Vianney in Queens, and St. Agatha plus Our Lady of Perpetual Help churches in Brooklyn. The growth of Catholics matches an overall increase in the Chinese American population in New York. Catholic Relief Services is in mourning after the loss of several staff members who died in the Ethiopian Airlines crash on Sunday. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 was en route to Nairobi before it went down moments after takeoff. All 157 people on board were killed. Catholic Relief Services releasing the following statement. It is with heavy hearts that we share the news that 4 members of our staff were killed. All 4 individuals were Ethiopian nationals traveling to Nairobi to attend a training on our behalf. 2 flight data recorders were recovered from the crash site early this morning. As Kristen Holmes reports, the plane's data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder could hold the clues about what happened.
Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes around the globe grounded after 157 people were killed Sunday when a flight operated by Ethiopian Airlines crashed shortly after takeoff. The airline announcing the discovery of the plane's black boxes as investigators try to piece together the final moments of flight ET-302.
We don't know the cause of the accident. We will comply with all the international regulations.
The second time in 6 months that one of the brand new planes went down just minutes into flight. In late October, a 737 MAX 8 flown by Lion Air crashed off the coast of Indonesia. Now, doubts about one of Boeing's most popular jets. Ethiopian Airlines grounding its 4 remaining 737 MAX 8s. China ordering its entire 97-plane fleet to be out of the air until more details on the latest crash emerge. In a statement, Boeing saying, based on the information available, we do not have any basis to issue new guidance to operators. Many airlines still keeping their 737s operating. Sunday's flight losing contact with authorities just 6 minutes after takeoff. Citizens from 35 countries were on board the flight, including 8 Americans and 22 United Nations staff members. Kristen Holmes, Currents News.
Pope Francis is praying for the victims and their families. The Vatican's Secretary of State said in a statement that Pope Francis sends heartfelt condolences to their families, and upon all who mourn this tragic loss, he invokes the divine blessings of consolation and strength. Also in the news tonight, the Diocese of Brooklyn is asking for a public apology from NBC. On Saturday Night Live over the weekend, comedian Pete Davidson made a shocking comparison between the Catholic Church and fans of singer R. Kelly, who is facing child sex abuse charges.
Okay, now before I continue, this guy is a monster and he should go to jail forever. But if you support the Catholic Church, isn't that the same thing as being an R. Kelly fan?
A shocked reaction from the Saturday Night Live audience this past weekend after comedian Pete Davidson compared the church's sexual abuse crisis to the allegations against the now infamous R&B singer R. Kelly. Kelly has been in the headlines recently after being charged with multiple counts of sexually abusing underage girls.
I don't really see the difference. Only one's music is significantly better.
Many Catholics say Davidson's so-called joke wasn't funny at all, instead calling it a blatant attack on the church. The Diocese of Brooklyn is demanding an apology from NBC and released a statement saying, apparently the only acceptable bias these days is against the Catholic Church. The faithful of our church are disgusted by the harassment by those in news and entertainment, and this sketch offends millions. The mockery of this difficult time in the church's history serves no purpose. The strong measures the church has put in place to stop and prevent sexual abuse date back to 2002, when the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops established the Dallas Charter. Some of the measures include creating the Office of Victim Assistance to help abuse individuals who come forward with allegations of abuse. The office provides counseling, referrals for therapy, and other important resources. Every employee of the Brooklyn Diocese, including students, undergoes mandatory training designed to spot the signs of abuse and how to stop it. Bishop DiMarzio meets with survivors and listens to them carefully. One result of those talks is the annual Mass of Hope and Healing in the diocese.
We're just going to call those private parts of our bodies that we need to keep clean, safe, and protected the bathing suit zone.
The Diocese Safe Environment Office, run by Mary Ellen Quinn, holds training programs to prevent abuse. The Diocese of Brooklyn, along with Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio, remain advocates for survivors. In 2017, the diocese established the Independent Reconciliation and Compensation Program as a means of finding healing and closure for survivors. And most recently, the diocese released a list of clergy credibly accused of sexual abuse against minors.
I have met with many victims who have told me that more than anything, they want an acknowledgement of what was done to them. This list gives that recognition. I hope it will add another means of healing for them on their journey towards wholeness.
No, because the other day, my mom was like, I'm going to Mass. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go listen to the Ignition remix.
The statement released by the diocese today read, "The clergy sex abuse crisis is shameful and no one should ever get a laugh at the expense of the victims who have suffered irreparably. It is likely that no other institution has done more than the Catholic Church to combat and prevent sexual abuse. The insensitivity of the writers, producers, and the cast of SNL around this painful subject is alarming." So far, NBC has not responded to the diocese statement. This is not the first time Saturday Night Live has been involved in an attack against the Catholic Church. In 1992, singer Sinead O'Connor infamously teared up a picture of Pope John Paul II while singing the word evil. There's a lot more news headed your way. President Trump has a new budget plan for his proposed border wall with Mexico. Some parts of Caracas are still in the dark as self-declared President Juan Guaido says Venezuela has collapsed following a massive power outage. And the story of a family in California who experienced a virtual nightmare the day before losing a loved one. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@thesalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. President Donald Trump is back to fighting for a border wall, delivering a new budget plan to Capitol Hill this morning that includes $8.6 million to fund its construction. Karen Kaifa has the latest from Washington.
Good afternoon.
The White House on Monday defending a budget blueprint that proposes deep cuts to domestic programs in education, health, and the environment.
Washington has a spending problem, and it endangers the future prosperity of our nation for generations to come.
The proposal, $2.7 trillion in spending cuts in some areas and boosting others, with an eye toward the president's 2020 re-election campaign.
The president's budget, just to remind everyone, is a reflection of his priorities. Every president's budget's a reflection of their priorities.
It proposes a 5% increase in defense spending and $8.6 billion for a border wall, reviving a battle with Congress that resulted in a recent 35-day government shutdown. Hill Democratic leaders Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer said the president won't get that wall money. Others say he needs to mind the budget process.
Let's get this out in the open. One of the biggest criticisms of the president's ask has been that we haven't seen what he really wants and let the experts talk about it in a hearing. So we'll see how it goes. I think it's part of the budgetary process where you ask and then you negotiate.
This week, the Senate is poised to reject the emergency declaration the president made to access funds for his border wall when Congress wouldn't approve the request last month. The president has said he'll veto the measure. In Washington, Karen Kaifa, Currents News.
The popular Catholic Respite Center for Migrants run by the Pope's favorite nun has found a new location. After resident complaints last month, the McAllen City Commissioner gave Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley 90 days to vacate the building it was using to provide temporary shelter for immigrants. According to Sister Norma Pimentel, the executive director and close friend of Pope Francis, the agency is close to finalizing a plan that would allow the center to operate from a different building in McAllen, closer to the bus station where many migrants first arrive when entering the United States. Self-declared president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido, says he will declare a state of national emergency following the country's massive power outage last week. The opposition leader claims the government of Nicolas Maduro is to blame for the death of 17 people since that outage.
He is the one making it harder and doing that today. Imagine if in your country you wake to the news that there's been 4 days without electricity because of corruption, because they steal from electricity plants and 17 people died. That's murder.
Maduro claims that Venezuela's electric grid was sabotaged. As 16 states continue to be without power, many hospital patients remain at risk. Guaido saying Sunday that the private sector has lost at least $400 million from the outages. Paula Newton is standing by in Caracas with more.
Well, the piece of good news comes from the lights that you see behind me. It seems that this city, this country is just beginning to recover, but the toll it has taken already in a country crippled by acute shortages of food, of medicine, and now this. We have heard stories of so many people just struggling to survive, especially in those hospitals that were already facing so much adversity. Today, we heard from many people who said, look, the power must come back on. We are running out of everything. We have spoiled food in our homes and no way to really figure out how to get more food and, quite frankly, the money to get more food into our homes. Right now, the government has said that Monday, again, everyone should stay home. Schools, businesses, the government is closed. People, again, will continue to try and recover. Politically, the opposition still continues to say this was mismanagement on the government side. President Maduro, though, continuing to hold to his line, saying that this was indeed sabotage. One thing is for sure, the hydro system, the electricity system in this country is in dire need of repair. And in the middle of a drought, Venezuelans know that while this blackout may be over for now, or at least beginning to be over, they know that they risk more blackouts to come and, of course, more struggles.
Many hospitals continue to work off generators during the blackout conditions. In Syria, heavy fighting continues as U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces close in on the last ISIS stronghold left in the war-torn country. Gunfire and explosions have filled the air since the operation began on Sunday evening. Over 30,000 civilians are said to be caught in the crossfire as thousands of ISIS fighters continue the final assault. As ISIS's control in the Middle East dwindles, it rises in a mostly Catholic country, the Philippines, most notably in the Mindanao Island group of the southern Philippines, where the Islamic State has attracted a range of militant jihadists. The group taking the blame for the January bombing of a Catholic cathedral that took the lives of 23 people after 2 suicide bombers entered the Sunday Mass. A family in California is outraged after a doctor delivered some difficult news to them through a computer screen. In what felt like a virtual nightmare for the family of 78-year-old Ernest Quintana, the doctor in charge of his case shared the news of his grim prognosis from a live video screen attached to a rolling machine. His granddaughter, outraged by the hospital's lack of dignity and compassion, Quintana died the next day. A new study reveals that women who smoke while pregnant can double the chances of their baby's sudden, unexpected death. Experts analyzed over 20 million births, including over 19,000 unexpected infant deaths, finding that the risk of death rises slightly for each additional cigarette a pregnant woman smokes. Researchers say smoking 1 pack a day could triple the risk of SIDS. Still to come on Currents News, a group of Parisians visited the Vatican over the weekend looking for an affirmation of faith from Pope Francis. And an Italian painting lost since the 17th century was found right in our backyard. We'll be right back. A long-lost Italian painting has been found. The painting, called Christ Carrying the Cross, appeared at an auction in the United States. The oil painting, made by artist Giorgio Vasari, was commissioned by one of the richest people in Rome in the 16th century, but after the artist's death, the painting passed from hand to hand. A group of homeless people from Paris visited the Vatican over the weekend with hopes of catching a glimpse of Pope Francis. All this thanks to a group dedicated to helping the needy in France, and Sean Richardson has the report.
These pilgrims are part of Fratello. It is a worldwide organization dedicated to helping the most needy. These Fratello pilgrims are from St. Ambroise Parish in Paris. There they help accommodate and find housing for those living in poverty, as well as assist migrants and other people living at a disadvantage.
We want to bring together people who are in difficult situations, but to support people who are poor, who live on streets, who live in isolation.
These pilgrims had received funding from their fellow parishioners to help them do this pilgrimage to Rome. For those who work with Fratello, they do not see the people they help as poor or homeless, but as family.
We don't see them as homeless, we just see as sisters and brothers, to see how we can live together and how we can bring back people to the life.
It was very important for them to see the Pope, as it helped reaffirm and encourage them in all the work they are doing for the most needy.
This is what we want to do in our parish. We've been doing it for many years. And also we have his support, that he's supporting us spiritually and in many other ways, and with his prayers.
They will now continue their pilgrimage in the Eternal City, attending Mass together and promoting more Fratello's call for everyone to help the poor. In Rome, Sean Richardson, Currents News.
That is Currents News, and I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.